like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy. So, what'll I make you? Good? You're not good. You just know how to hide, how to lie. Me, I don't have that problem. Me, I always tell the truth, even when I lie. So say good night to the bad guy. Come on. The last time you're gonna see a bad guy like this again, let me tell you. Come on. Make way for the bad guy. There's a bad guy coming through. Better get out of his way.
All right. Welcome to Thursday Night Live Reality Check. The name of this show tonight is You're the Bad Guy in Someone's Story. And I think that is probably something that everybody has experienced if you're not experiencing it now, or at least a couple times in your life. But you are the bad guy in someone's story. Whether or not you've done something wrong or you've spoken the truth, you are considered the bad guy. So what I want to do is I want to go over a couple talking points first. We'll go over that clip. There's one thing that was said in that clip where even when I lie, I'm telling the truth. And I think we'll go over that statement eventually. So let me bring Frank back on here. So first of all, you're the bad guy in someone's story. I think that there's a lot of times you're the bad guy. Let's say you run a business like I do. And for me, I'm very particular on my work. And when I'm paying somebody or somebody is getting paid to do a job and they don't do it, now I become the bad guy. And I have no choice. It could be in your workplace. You can be the bad guy. Number two would be your friends. Okay, whether you have a disagreement with someone, or again, you're telling the truth. Number three would be family, whether it be parents, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles. You can be the bad guy in their story. Number four would be something that probably people wouldn't think of, and that would be your neighbors. Think about your neighbors, the people that you live next door to. Do you want disagreements with your neighbors or for them to think that you're a bad guy? Probably not. I think people deal with that issue differently. I know how I deal with it in my neighborhood. Number five would be your marriage or going through a divorce. You know, I think in this sphere that we're in, we'll call it the manosphere, I think a lot of blame is on the women. But I had talked to Anthony earlier in the week, and there's a lot of scumbag dudes out there too. You know, guy that's abused a woman, I mean, legitimately. So there's a lot of angles we can come at. So as far as that goes. And also then we're going to get into is relationships, okay, with your girlfriend, or if you're a woman, with your boyfriend. So whether you've had a breakup or something like that, you're going to be spoken of as the bad guy, whether you've done something right or you've done something wrong. One thing I want to say is you're not always right. We try to tell the truth, and I think the truth is really, really important. Okay, so I think everybody knows when they're telling the truth. But everybody knows also when you're telling your version of the truth. These are a few questions I want to ask you guys, and I've got a little bit more to talk about, and then we'll start the discussion. Do you compromise when somebody thinks you're the bad guy? Maybe you've told the truth and they don't like it. Will you compromise to pull that relationship back? Some people won't talk to you. They'll cut you off. That's the end. It's over. We talk about forgiveness. Okay. I think forgiveness is something that we really don't think about. Forgiveness is not for the person that you're forgiving. Forgiveness is for yourself. And I'm going to put that on the table. You guys might agree or disagree, and that's fine. But forgiveness is for yourself. So just remember that. That's my little bit of advice. Now, I'm all about accountability and extreme accountability. So if you've made a bad decision or you are the bad guy, legitimately, do you apologize? Or if somebody treats you as the bad guy, do you accept the apology? And there's a couple things I think we got to look at. Ego. Is it your ego or their ego that's keeping you from giving an apology or accepting an apology? We think about, will you let someone back into your life after they've burned you? So how does it affect you? You know, but one thing I do want to talk about, sometimes it's true. You are the bad guy. And that's the reality. Sometimes it's true. Sometimes we've crossed those boundaries, whether it's in a relationship or a friendship or family. You've crossed the boundary. Can you come back? Will you hold yourself accountable? Will you admit? Will you apologize? Also, how do you deal with somebody when you did do something wrong? So again, we're about accountability. I'm taking both angles here. Do you communicate? Do you fight for yourself? Because I'm big on communicating. I know Ivan had said this kind of plays in what we're talking about now, which is when the talking stops, the shooting starts. And basically what that means in a relationship with friends, with business partners or business people that you work with, family. Really, I mean, we think about that. When the talking stops, the shooting starts. What that means is, in context of what we're talking about, is now it gets really nasty. It gets evil. It gets to the point to where it's not nice. But do you also fight and stick up for yourself when you know you're telling the truth? So that's what I've got. So I think this is going to be an interesting show, and I've got some great panel guests. We got Gonzo, of course. Good to see you. Primal Man, Gene. We've got Frank Pesci and Big Johnson, Anthony Dream Johnson. Good to see you guys. First one I'm going to go to is I'm going to go right around the panel. Let's go to Gonzo.
Yeah, so on being the bad guy. Yeah, I think you know what? I'm just going to tie this back to, you know, most of the time, you know, I think a lot of people are afraid of being the bad guy. And I think you actually have to be comfortable and okay with the fact that people are going to think that you're the bad guy. And I'm specifically talking in situations where you're doing the right thing and you're standing up for what's right. Because when you love what's right, you know, the darkness is going to come right out of people. People are going to come right at you. And there's going to be controversy. There's going to be, you know, people will turn on you. People will be shit talking, the whole 9 yards. And so I think that's just kind of how it's got to be. And there's no way you can do it. I don't think there's a way you can do it without having that thick skin to it. But that's just my 2 cents. I think you just have to be able to be okay with having other people judge you, having other people hate you, having other people thinking you're the bad guy, because that's just, I think that's just the game. That's just the rules of the game. That's just how it happens, and really that's kind of all I have to say about it. But
okay, let's go to Gene, man.
So Tony, I want you to re-ask the questions exactly to me.
Okay, we'll start with. Let me see here. Will you accept an apology from somebody who thinks you're the bad guy?
Definitely, because I wouldn't expect them to see me any other way. The truth hurts.
Will you give an apology when you know you're the bad guy?
If I really made a mistake, I'll admit I was wrong, yes.
And I think that's something as men that we have to do. I mean, it's not a bad thing to apologize. What about forgiveness?
Lots of forgiveness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Lots of mercy, lots of forgiveness. Up to a certain point, that is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, feel free to say anything you want, man. Go for it. Do you let somebody back into your life after they've burned you?
No. If it's a business type thing or a relationship type thing, no. Hate, no hate, but do I do business with them again? Do I have a relationship with them again? No.
What about family?
Same thing. Family, I think a lot of people like to say they use family as being, the loyalty thing, like, oh, they're family. I get that, and that's true. But calling something family doesn't give them an excuse to treat you poorly. Family members don't get a pass to treat people poorly as well. Like I said, I believe in forgiveness, but sometimes people are best kept at a distance, for sure.
When you know you're wrong and you know you've done something, let's say you're in a relationship, do you fight to make that? I don't want to say fight, maybe that's not the right word, but do you communicate properly to resurrect or to make the person understand that, hey, I made a mistake? And if they don't accept it, that's on them.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then sometimes it's best to say your piece and then let it go, to not keep trying to tell them or teach them something or convince them. Sometimes hey, I was wrong. And if that's not enough, sometimes it's best to just not even say anything after that.
All right, let's go to Frank Pesci. Frank, you're
such a dynamic question, Tony.
You're the bad guy in someone's story. Everybody is. So give me your thoughts on that.
Right. My initial thoughts on it are going to be, look, if you're the bad guy in somebody's story, that means you're more than likely standing in the way of something that they want, or you are standing for something that pierces them, that touches their inner core just to disagreement. For the most part, as Westerners, we kind of have the same idea about how to approach these things, right? Forgiveness is a good thing. Not having beef with people is, what we're taught to kind of avoid those things. It's better to have friends than enemies. But in reality, if you're doing things, if you're active, if you're pursuing something, if you're an advocate, if you're going after something that's worth going after, you're gonna bring up enemies, because there's going to be people that are going to want to stand in your way from you accomplishing that. Otherwise, what it is that you're seeking to accomplish is not worth accomplishing anyway. So I think if a man is going to go after anything of any consequence in life, they have to not only be prepared to deal with enemies, but they have to expect that they're going to deal with enemies. Now, when you have enemies, you know, the good thing about that is that can be a confirmation that your work is good, right? Because good people don't necessarily seek to make enemies out of other good people. So if you're doing a good work, the enemies that are going to rise up are likely going to be maybe a touch less than a good person. So it's okay to have enemies. But when you have these enemies, it's also important that you don't necessarily ignore them, but that you recognize the enemy, you recognize the capability that they have, you recognize the disdain that they may or may not have for you, and what steps they may take to try to cut your legs out from under you. There's many, many ways to deal with an enemy. There's many famous quotes out there on how to deal with enemies. So I think there's plenty of wisdom. There's plenty of proverbs for us to learn and understand how to deal with enemies. But if you do have enemies, it's not something that you should sleep on, because ultimately it has to be dealt with. Otherwise, unless they fade out of, you know, relevance, which is a possibility too, and that may be your strategy to make happen. Now, I think in the context of, you know, if you're a content creator or, you know, governor or, you know, a big business owner, a hedge fund guy or whatever you are, then maybe your objective is, you know, to maybe mow down your enemies. And that may be fine too, because you're trying to consolidate power. You're trying to control the narrative and generate a message. And that's fine. But there are also stories and cultural expressions of enemies and wars that says, hey, you and I can have a fight in this parking lot, but I'm also going to go to your house 8 miles from here and burn your house down. So there are levels of enemies, right? Why should the fight stop here in the parking lot? Why shouldn't I go to your house and finish the fight there? Right now I'm reading Jack Donovan's book, the first one that he wrote. What's the name of the first one that he wrote here?
The Way
you
of
guys
Men.
Remind me real quick.
The Way of Men.
The Way of Men. That's right. Yeah, great book. Great book. And, you know, when I read that book, I understand that strength, honor, courage, and virtue are 4 things that make up a man, just at the base. And our cultures, you know, put forth a different version or a different, you know, narrative of what that looks like, but at its core, it's all the same. I just read a book before this. It was about 4th generation warfare. Now, some of you know that I served in the military. I served in the military during, you know, our wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And when we approached that theater of operations, we used what was called 3rd generation warfare. It was shock and awe, drop every bomb we can drop, use every, you know, heavy artillery piece and every tank. And if the enemy fires at us, we destroy them with extreme prejudice. The heaviest violence of action that you can imagine. That was the policy of the U.S. military. And that works if you're fighting an all-out total war, but it does not work if you're going to stage an occupation. Because what happens is when you stage the occupation and, you know, a guy takes a pot shot at you from the roof with an AK-47 and you decide to roll down an Abrams and blow up every cafe and business in the neighborhood, now all of a sudden you're not just going after the guy in the roof. Now you just made everybody in the neighborhood an enemy. And if you go out and you kill the family member, the father, the uncle of, you know, somebody in the neighborhood, now all of a sudden they have a duty to their strength, honor, courage, and virtue to now become your enemy. So the way that the United States military decided to, you know, learn from that experience, called lessons learned, and adjust their doctrine, was by adopting, you know, more light infantry tactics, where they would live among the enemy, where they would eat, where they would shop, where they would only respond with the necessary amount of force in order to generate goodwill among the population. And when they were wrong, that they would take, you know, how do you say, accountability for it. Because one of the things the military wants to do is they want to control the media. They want to control the narrative. And if the media is controlling the narrative and all you read about the media and the military is good things, then you know that it's manipulated. But when the military makes a mistake and they say, yeah, we screwed up, this is how we're going to fix it, now all of a sudden they lace credibility into their operation. So, I mean, this, again, is a super, super broad topic. At its core, just kind of bringing it home, I think it's okay to have enemies. I don't think you should sleep on your enemies. I think that you should deal with them, either deal with them with love or deal with them with aggression or deal with them with whatever is necessary to fix that problem. But I think ultimately enemies are a confirmation that the work that you're doing is effective, and hopefully it's good work. Hopefully it's good work. And as far as family and stuff goes, Tony, look, you only got one family, man. You know, you come into this world, you don't get to choose your family, but that's who you're given. You know, one of the commandments is love your mother and your father so that it may go well with you, or honor your parents so that it may go well with you. And you know what? In essence, that's honoring God, because you don't get to choose your parents. Your parents may be terrible. Your siblings may be terrible, but you alone bear the responsibility of how you want to respond to that. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't protect yourself, or that you shouldn't, you know, at times set boundaries and keep your distance if necessary and such, and go through, you know, correction periods, as it were. But, you know, family's important. If somebody in my family is asking for forgiveness, and believe me, I've had to both ask for forgiveness and I've had to forgive within the context of my family. And at the end of the day, man, that's, to me, blood is good. So, yeah, I hope that answers the question, Tony. Did I get them all?
Yeah. No. Well, I've got one question for you, and this is legitimate. We have all legitimately been the bad guy in someone's story. I mean, we all have. We're not perfect. We've made mistakes. I don't think anyone on this panel can say that, you know what, I wasn't legitimately the bad guy. I did something wrong. I mean, I did it. It was me. So how do you deal with that?
Oh. Okay, I'll give you an example. Early on in my marriage, I was the bad guy at times. And I ended up in a situation where, you know, some people in my wife's family were like, yeah, no, that guy's no good. Get rid of that guy. But I chose to acknowledge to, you know, my wife, my immediate family, hey, this is where I screwed up, but we're a family, we're going to fix it. And as far as anybody else is concerned, it's none of their business. And they got nothing to say about it. And I have my right to put my feet here and claim my territory. And if anybody has a problem with it, then I'm ready to stand on this hill, because I have a right to be here. So out loud, I ask for forgiveness. I may have been the enemy. This is my plan to fix it. I hope that's good enough for you. If it's not, that's fine too. But this is where my feet belong, and this is where they're going to stay. So, you know, again, you know, if it's, do you have a right to be there? You know what I mean? Is this your place? You know, one thing that I really don't like and never have liked is when people speak out of place. Keep your nose out of my business. I grew up in the Bronx, and I know, and everybody knows who grows up, you know, around that type of neighborhood, you mind your own business. You get involved in somebody else's business, that's how you end up dead. That's how you end up in trouble. That's how you end up with a pipe across the face. And, you know, for what? Mind your business, stand up for what's right, do what's good, and be ready to you know, measure and weigh out those consequences if you do that. But, you know, I want to say too, I just talked to my dad today, and I told my father, I said, you know, Dad, I'm 36 years old now. You know, I think I'm at the point in my life where I'm starting to really understand what it means to be a man, and to the extent that I'm willing to lay down my life and consider it an honor for those who I love and for who are important around me. And that's to say that life is great, life is wonderful, and I'm not looking to pick a fight. But I also understand that, you know, should I lose my life for a good cause, then I've already weighed that out. I've already measured that. I've already decided that that's okay and that's worth it. And I think that, you know, I've always had that idea, and that's probably what drove me to want to serve in the military and do some of the things that I've done. But I'm at the point now where it's like, hey, if I'm not sowing into my children, if I'm not making my community better, if I'm not out here calling out injustice, saying what it is, but at the same time being in the place where I'm supposed to be, right? I'm not just going to walk down the street and walk into somebody's front door and, you know, say, hey, how you living? It's not my business. But in the arena where it is my business, then I have to be willing to stand up and be somebody's enemy, because ultimately I've already decided who I want my friends to be.
Okay, so the question was then, when you are the bad guy and your apology and your sincere acceptance of you're taking responsibility for it. How do you handle someone that doesn't accept that? I mean, to me, that's a way of forgiveness.
Hey,
also.
buddy, it okay? No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I have a right to forgive others or not forgive others, and that same right is extended to everybody else. So you may, cross somebody's line where they're not ready to forgive you, or when they may never forgive you, and that may be a consequence of you being the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all right. The sun's still going to rise tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The rain's still going to come. You're still going to eat. You just got to live. You can't let other people occupy your very essence. You have to be a vessel for good things. All you can do is what you're responsible for.
Yeah, and to me, that's a part of ownership. When you do apologize to someone, or again, business, family, you're in a marriage, you're in, a relationship, whether it's your girlfriend or you're a woman and it's your boyfriend. I think that people can tell a sincere apology. I think that's important. And I think as men, we always say, oh, we're not going to apologize. But I think sometimes vocalizing that, whether, again, it's business, family, friends, relationships, I think it's important that people hear that. So that's kind of my take on that. But I want to go to, I want to say hello to the real bad guy, Big Johnson.
What's up, fam?
How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Just chilling here in my lower right-hand corner of the video, enjoying the show. Really enjoyed, and I agreed with the vast majority of what Frank said. This motherfucker is savage. His life experience is very obvious to me. My life experience primarily is as an adult. From 17 to now 32 has been an entrepreneur. I've traveled the world. I've seen 26-something countries, done a lot of business. I own 3 businesses right now, 2 of which are 6-figure. And my experience confirms the vast majority of what Frank was talking about in his life experience. At 37, I think years old he is, 36. I'm impressed. I mean,
36, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, he's on point. I mean, I don't agree with all of it, but I agree with like 80, 90% of it. That shit was savage. Frank, everything, most of what he said is like fucking real deal, 100%. So other than that, I can get into questions.
Thanks,
if you want
bro.
to get more specific with him, Tony.
Well, let's get specific. You're the bad guy in somebody's story. You're the bad guy in a lot of people's stories, I think, right now.
Yeah.
And
I consider myself the Manosphere's #1 villain.
yeah,
Proudly.
and that's okay. In fact, Gonzo put that in his community post about you're the villain in somebody's life story. Now, the villain, okay, we look at people who tell the truth. I think me and Gene had talked about this. What did they do, Gene, with truth tellers back in the day?
Yeah, they cut their tongues out, didn't they?
Yeah,
Mhm.
they cut their tongues out.
Yeah. The #1 way to make people hate you and to be a villain, at least today, if not throughout history and to varying degrees, but especially today, in clown world, in this bizarro, fucked up world where transsexuals do story time for 4-year-olds and all kinds of insane shit that we see. The #1 way to make people hate you and to be a villain is to tell the truth, is to focus on reality and speak to reality and never give up and do not surrender and keep defending it. Fight for it, advocate it, and defend it with everything that you have. And the more you do that at a greater intensity and scope and precision, the more people will hate you. That does not make it impossible for people to find you that will support you. It is possible to win PR wars, for example. Recently, I think I've been very successful in the public court of public opinion, for example, with the Sharp Mama fiasco, the Sharp Mama, whole situation going on there. It's like Bernie Madoff going on, basically, in a manosphere. But that took an enormous amount of effort. And I learned from prior battles and fights in the manosphere for how to conduct myself and how I would do differently this time. And so far, it's been going extremely well. And it's going to keep going extremely well. And every day that goes by, it just gets more fun and more interesting. But that took age and experience and wisdom and courage to do that. And I have made, of course, enemies in the process. No matter how skilled you are and how well things go, you will always have collateral damage in a fight like that for the truth. You will be labeled a villain by at least some people. I mean, look, most people today obviously are straight up. Look around you with the mask situation, the vaccines, and all this fucking insane bullshit, the passports, and all this crazy shit. The average person is a fucking loser, like completely brain dead. They're not really. They're kind of barely human, is what I consider them. They just walk around. They put 3 masks on their face and like look up at the sky, wondering when their communist government checks coming in the mail. Like we live in that kind of world, and it's dangerous. That kind of world is what leads to, as we saw last century, genocide and all kinds of really extreme, insane shit, gulags and stuff. But yeah, be a truth teller. I'm all about it. No one's
Yeah,
coming.
let me real quick address a couple things. I miss Marty. Tonight I'm just Thursday night. I just kind of pick a panel. I have a lot of guys that I can choose from, and it's nothing against Marty, of course. We love Marty, but he'll be back on Saturday night for sure. But what did we say here? We got Marty is buying CME tickets. He'll be back. Yes, he will. Thursday nights is a different show, guys. Just so you know, it's not an open show. Saturday night is a little bit different. I just like to pick my panel guests who I think are relevant for this topic, and maybe here in a bit I'll put the link in there so some of you other guys can jump on. But I do appreciate everybody that is involved on my panel. I just want to make that clear. So, anyways, go ahead, Anthony. Let me ask you a question, Anthony. Sometimes it's true you were the bad guy. How do you handle that? In other words, we're not perfect. We're not perfect.
Sure.
So
yeah, I've been the bad guy at a couple points in my life. I'm proud to say very few. I've been an objectivist for a long time, and even before that, I was raised very much by my maternal grandmother, and she was an extremely devout Catholic and had a really strong backbone and strong spine. And the intensity and the integrity that you see in me, and the iron will, the willpower to do things as a professional and as a man and as an adult and in the manosphere and all that, up to and including fighting with the fake news media, various fraud fathers, all these fucking scumbags. A lot of that actually comes from my grandmother, who was just absolutely fucking savage. An amazing woman, nice lady, but also just savage as fuck. And she taught me a lot about that. And because of that, too, I think I had a very good sense of morality instilled in me from a young age. And I don't like doing bad things. I don't like hurting people unless I have to. I don't like fucking people over unless I have to. And there's a good strategic reason to it or some context to defend myself or whatever the case is. Objectivism is the philosophy that I follow. It's my religion. I don't mean that as an analogy. I mean that literally. And objectivism is a very strict and extreme adherence to reality. And that means not violating other people's rights directly through violence, unless it's to defend yourself, and through fraud, which is an indirect form of force. And objectivism as well has a very, like I said, an extreme focus on reality. And that means that kind of a cardinal sin in objectivism as a religion is lying, is creating a fake reality. That means telling the truth, obviously, in opposition to it. And then B, that when you see fraud, you say fraud, and you aggressively attack it if and when there's an opportunity, and it's rational, and it's the right time and the right context to do so. This level of intensity today is unusual. The average person, their philosophy is a jumbled mess of nonsense. That's why when some loser goes on TV that looks like death and says, wear 4 masks on your face, they put 4 masks on their face, and they're scared of something that is basically meaningless. And they're scared to death of it, like fucking little sheep, little rabbits. And all the extremely irrational shit we've seen over the past, 12, 13 months in America and the world. So I have been the bad guy, though, at a couple points in my life. I don't want to downplay that too much. I'm not perfect. And that's different as well from making technical mistakes, right? Under Nathaniel Brennan, a psychologist I follow, or he's dead now, but, I still read his work and all that. He defined mistakes into 2 large camps: technical mistakes, where you make a mistake, including like a bad mistake, and moral mistakes that do require redemption and forgiveness and these things. So I do believe in these things that you guys were talking about: redemption, apologizing, forgiveness, although I'm much, much more wary of them than the average person would be. And I think, for example, most of Western culture right now has the dominant philosophy has been Christianity for a long time. And I'm not a Christian, so I don't view that as unanimously positive. I do think it's been net positive. It's been really good. But I also see that I have disagreements with it, basically. And one of those is kind of this hypervigilance or excessive promotion of forgiveness. I've seen this in real life, like in front of my own eyes, never mind on the internet and through news articles and things, and all the things that we see, the conversations. So I'm not this huge advocate of forgiveness. I do believe it's a useful tool. I do think it's a real concept that has legitimate meaning. But I do think today that it has been, especially today in PC culture, has dumped like jet fuel on this forgiveness concept that was already, I think, a little bit too much, and now it's just completely out of fucking control.
But I think my version of forgiveness is not the same as yours. Excuse me. My version of forgiveness is for myself. I can forgive somebody to find my peace. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to accept them again. Okay. So I think a lot of people take forgiveness as a weak way to, how do I put this? A weak way to make a situation better. And that's not what it's about. For me, when I forgive, go ahead, man.
Forgiveness does not equal acceptance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I understand that. And I know you're differentiating it from how other people use it. And I still disagree with it in large part. And I'll even give an example that in the manosphere, this is a very common thing that's talked about. I call them the forgiveness police. They're on Twitter, right? I'll just drop names. Like, Ed Lattimore tweets about forgiveness all the time, and he writes books about it and blog posts and stuff. And that to me depicts exactly the kind of content. I'm not even picking on him because it's not just him. There's tons of people that do this in the manosphere and self-improvement Twitter and all this stuff. And this obsession with forgiveness, and it's for yourself and all this stuff. I disagree with that completely. It's not just me. I got that specifically. Well, I had that in my own mind for a long time, kind of my own concept, but I had not like hashed it out yet. And last year in 2020, I found an author who died back in like 2010, Alice Miller. And she's the author of various books on these issues. You guys can look it up on Amazon, Alice Miller. She was a psychologist, a Swiss psychologist and psychotherapist for decades. And she's famous, these things. And it's an excellent series of books. She wrote probably like, I don't even know how many books, probably over 10 or a dozen or something like that. But she's very critical of the concept of forgiveness and its origins, its roots, how it's misused in these things. And it was fascinating to read from a philosophical and psychological perspective. And including specifically like, forgiveness being for yourself. And I don't think forgiveness should be for yourself. It should be for the other person if you're going to do it. And trying to harness it or to quarantine it to yourself, I don't agree with this concept and this practice. I actually agree. I think what needs to be said today much more, especially in clown world and PC culture, is to stop forgiving people. Like, don't forgive them. Hold them accountable. And that does not necessarily though mean a grudge. It doesn't mean you have this permanent anger, this permanent emotion that haunts you. That's not good either. That's unhealthy. That's like attaching a dead weight to your fucking leg. But it's kind of like a stop. It's like, I don't forgive you. If someone wronged you in some egregious way that you just are not going to forgive. I don't forgive you. You're a piece of shit and you're dead to me, or you're exiled or whatever. Goodbye. And that's more or less the end of it. And over time, the emotions and things will fade.
Yeah, but
I think not enough people have the balls to do that today. They don't draw boundaries. They don't put down.
I like what Gene said, though. Forgiveness is not acceptance. And it really isn't. I don't think it's acceptance. I think forgiveness, again, for me, it's for my peace, because the reason I say that is you look on my Twitter, you look on a couple of my social media, and it says, basically, I will nothing you. You won't take space in my head. And to me, that's forgiveness. In other words, I'm not going to let you take space in my head. I'm just not going to let you do it. I'm not going to accept.
But I don't think you need to forgive someone to do that, is what I'm saying. That's where we disagree.
Yeah.
And I'm not into it at all. And I think, again, in self-improvement Twitter, this is a very common concept. Search forgiveness and try to look through these guys that we know. It's not even just the manosphere. It's self-improvement Twitter beyond the manosphere. There's this obsession with forgiveness. It's very strange.
I gotta ask a question for Anthony. If it's not forgiveness when you close the door on someone, and I get that, and that's cool. I don't want to put words in your mouth or fog up the situation or the question, but what do you call it when you do close the door on someone? If you're not holding on to a grudge, then what is it? What would you call it in your words?
I don't have a special term for it. It's just holding someone accountable. And that's what forgiveness interrupts. That's what I'm trying to say here. And this is what I think one of the main points of Alice Miller. And she was, and this is all through childhood trauma and all these things that people do in family trauma and stuff. You don't need to give it a special name and a special concept. It's I'm not forgiving you. You know, number one, a lot of people won't even ask for forgiveness, right? That's another issue too. Is people offer forgiveness when someone's not even asking for it or for an apology. It's like, well, let me forgive you for myself. It's like, what the fuck? Why is this about you? The person wronged you. They need to ask for forgiveness, and maybe extend an apology, and maybe you forgive them, maybe you don't. It's your choice. You don't have to. If you believe the apology is genuine, maybe you do, maybe you don't, depending on what the evaluation is and stuff. But it's basically holding someone accountable, not giving them a free pass, not a get out of jail free card, not forgiveness. It's no, I don't forgive you. You're a piece of shit and you fucked up. Goodbye.
So you bypass forgiveness and bypass the grudge, and they're just dead. That's it. They're dead.
Well, I'm not going to pretend like I'm not going to. Yeah, I mean, that's the way Tony's saying it. I'm not completely opposed to that. I don't know if it's like completely dead. Like if someone brings them up a conversation, I'm not going to pretend like they don't exist.
Right.
It's unlikely I'll go the next 10 years of my life and not think about them even once. I don't think that's realistic as a human being. You might get, mad or something at some point. You might see someone do a similar behavior and fuck you over in a similar way, and you remember that asshole that fucked you over or something. But yeah, it's close to them being dead. I don't think they're not literally dead. Psychologically, I'm just not going to pay much attention to them, if at all. I don't think it's good to hold on to grudges unless maybe for a short period of time as like a grieving process, like a tool. But long term, no, that's irrational. That's unhealthy for your life. Why would you spend? So that's the thing too. Is people like they say, if you don't forgive someone, then you're gonna have a grudge and it's gonna eat you alive. It's like
that's
no,
the point.
No.
That's what I'm smoking on right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Why am I gonna spend? Just because I don't forgive you doesn't mean I'm gonna spend fucking time on you. Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
You fucked up. I think you're a loser or a scumbag or whatever. Goodbye. And you're out of sight, out of mind, right? Like you're physically out the door. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Don't come back. Shut the fuck up. Don't talk to me anymore. Goodbye. And maybe I'll rethink the issue later, 5 years later or 10 years later, and come to a different conclusion. Give the person a call, man or woman, or reach out or try to make amends, or even just try to understand what exactly happened with more distance on the situation. But yeah, this basically the forgiveness today has like a magical element to it. And it's this kind of like very somber thing that we talk about in culture. And I really believe that it's overused. And it has very serious consequences too when it's overused, especially in family situations where people abuse blood ties to you, to abuse you and stuff over a long period of time. And they'll manipulate you using these blood ties. I do believe blood is a strong tie. I don't think it should be taken lightly. It's very strong. You shared DNA, like Jesus. But it's not an unlimited license though to abuse someone. And I think you brought that up, man. I did.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have the balls to say that. They go, well, it's family. You got to forgive them. And the 10 Commandments said, respect your mother and father. And what if your mother and father were fucking pedophiles and molested you as a 5-year-old? Do you forgive them? No, I don't think you should. They're fucking sick in the head. Fuck them. Like, burn them to the ground. They're evil. That's an extreme example. You can't argue exclusively from that position. But some parents are so toxic and so fucking shit that their own children have to cut them out of their lives. Like, basically make a cut in the bloodline. Like, somewhere along the way, someone got so fucked up, you had to make a cut, a clean break, and move on and get away.
And what happens is when they don't make the cut, the clean cut, or the disassociation with the type of manipulation or bad behavior, they bring it into the next generation, and then the next generation, and then the next generation.
Yep. And
because no one has the balls to stand up against it.
That's right. And forgiveness is one of the ways that people get guilt tripped into this. People say, "Oh, well, you need to forgive. You need to forgive them. They're your parents. It doesn't matter what they did. You have to forgive. You have to forgive." And the 10 Commandments said this, and the Bible said this, and they will berate you and browbeat you into a forgiveness that you don't feel like giving them. You genuinely don't want to do it. Your gut says don't do it. Your instinct just says don't do it. And people will social pressure you into doing it. And not that many people have the balls to stand up against a mob, basically, in a family situation or otherwise in a business situation or whatever, to do that. I do. And I realize that I'm not normal. Like, it's really unusual to do what I do. No one in the world's done what I do in business. People have commented on that lately, and I appreciate that. I'm not some fucking Superman with this stuff, but I live my life to the T, to my values, and I don't apologize for it, and I fight to the death for what I believe in. And not that many people, unfortunately, have those kind of balls. That's why I like being on this panel, and especially guys like I mentioned a lot, Michael Foster and Tanner Guzy. Those are guys with completely different philosophies than me. Well, not completely. That's actually not accurate, but fundamentally there's some very major disagreements, right? They're Christians, hardcore and stuff, right? But I love the intensity that they have for their values. I love the intensity that they have and that they fight for their philosophy and for their God and their religion. That's awesome. Every man should have that, even if you're my absolute enemy. It's people who are hypocrites and these weak bastards and these middle of the road compromisers that are fucking toxic. You know, if someone, you know, if you believe in your God and you're willing to die for him and blow up a bunch of people, I think you're a sick fuck. But at least you believe in something, and sincerely that you're willing to die for it. I respect that. It's malicious. It's going to hurt people, but you know, there's an element of intensity to that is respectful. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Even if you're my absolute enemy and it's going to do people harm, it's those middle of the road fucks that are toxic, man. They're the ones that get us all killed.
Yep.
The gulags and the genocide that comes from these middle of the road compromisers, man.
Yep.
And it's sick and it's dangerous.
Yep.
So I don't know if Tony has any specific questions, but
yeah, no, that's good, man. That's good. I'm here doing some things behind the scenes, but in fact, I invited Ivan Throne on. He just texted me, and I just sent him the link, so I think he'd be good in this. So,
Ivan's badass, dude.
Yeah,
He's another one who fights what he believes in. The guy's a savage.
Mm-hmm. You know, I understand that we definitely have some we'll call it ideological differences when it comes to Christianity, and I'm okay with that. You know, everybody here on this panel, I don't think we all agree on everything, and that's why I love having a panel like this, because if everybody agrees, what does it become? An echo chamber.
Yep.
It becomes scroll zero. You know, I mean, that's what it is. So I'm okay with disagreeing, you know. But again, for me, forgiveness is peace for me, and that's what it's about. When I reach out to someone and let them know that they're forgiven for doing me wrong, again, it has nothing to do with them. I've never heard this before, which you talked about, like the forgiveness police on Twitter. I've never heard that. I really haven't.
Until last year, I honestly wasn't able to articulate it. Like, I had these kind of gut feelings. Like, for years in the manosphere, I would see this forgiveness stuff, and I kind of roll my eyes, but I didn't know how to attack it or tackle it or even argue with it. So I just kind of ignored it or stayed away from it, but it bugged me. And it wasn't until I found Alice Miller as a psychologist and an author that I was like, whoa. And so it did fit where my head was going, but I did not have the tools to basically build the concepts to understand it. But it blew me away. I mean, it really helped me make some changes in my life and understand how to deal with my own family situation, different issues in my life, and even enemies, you know? Like, people want me to make up with, you know, for example, the fraud father. Oh, you should make peace with the fraud father. I'm like, go fuck yourself. That guy's a fucking scumbag piece of shit. I hope he burns in hell.
Okay.
Anybody who scams men out of money and hurts them on purpose is a fucking permanent piece of shit.
What does it take for you to accept an apology from somebody that's done you wrong? Somebody that's genuinely sorry. I mean, you know, I'm not big on saying I'm sorry, but when I did something wrong, I have no issue, whether it be family, business people, you know, as far as my contracting business, a relationship, whether it be a girlfriend, but I have no issue saying, okay, I did you wrong, and I'm going to apologize. And I try to leave it at that point right there. Like that's all I can do. So what does the bad guy right now in the manosphere, if somebody reaches out to you that has had a major disagreement with you, how do you deal with that? Being in the position that you're in. I mean, none of us are you know, a big content creator like yourself. Hopefully we'll get there someday. But the reason, again, having this panel of guys, we don't have to agree. So somebody reaches out to you and say, Anthony, I want to speak to you. I want to talk to you. And so what do? Do you accept that apology if it's a genuine, sincere apology?
Yeah, sure. So number one, this is extremely rare. I mean, we can theorize about it, but the times that I've seen this in my life, I can count them on one hand, if not less. So when people lack a backbone and spine and ethics and specific moral principles that they live by, that they can articulate, they tend to get worse over time. is what happens. People fall apart over time. I know you've seen this in your life, Tony. You're 58 years old. You're a lot older than me. And a lot of people just fall apart over time. Now, however, though, if an apology is genuine, number one, I have to determine that exclusively. It cannot be based on them berating me or the persistence. I have to really kind of gut check, is this real or is it not? And I can't know that with 100% certainty because you're not in their head. Man or woman, you're just not there. You can't be. You have to evaluate and judge, not form an opinion. You have to fucking judge. Is this shit real or is it bullshit? Second, an apology is never going to be enough. If they wronged you, they have to rectify the situation and redeem themselves. This is the meaning of redemption. Redemption is not automatic. You have to redeem yourself through action. Act and non-verb, as we know, right? Actions over words. So what are the actions? What is the change, the real change that would make them not do that again? Because if someone fucked you over once, man or woman, they're almost certainly going to do it again. Past behavior predicts future behavior. Not perfectly, but most of the time. That's why in the manosphere, this is said so much about women. If a girl cheats on you, the chance of her cheating on you again is extremely fucking high. 80, 90, 95, 98%. Somewhere between 80 and 98%. It's extremely fucking high. At business, if someone actually stabs you in the back, like legitimately, deeply, they're almost certainly going to do it again. Unless you see action and redemption and massive change in the individual that would prevent that sort of action from happening again. That level of change is very rare in human life. People don't change like that. They stay the same. Some people change, but it's rare and it's unusual. It's the exception to the rule that people stay the same or they fall apart over time, entropy or whatever. They just collapse and they get worse and worse and worse. Just like even physically, you know, I'm 32 years old. I'm in better shape now. I was in good shape at 22. I'm even better shape at 32. Most of the people that I went to high school with are fucking fat slobs now. They were in decent shape out of high school, and then they got a little fat in college, the freshman 15 and all that shit. And every year that goes by, they get a little fatter and a little fucking lazier and a little slower, and a little fatter and a little fatter and a little fatter. Now then there's the shuffled wreck. I mean, Tony, imagine the people, you're 58 years old, the people you went to high school with. Most of them are fucking fat slobs now.
Oh, I see him, yeah. I mean, you know, I'm in, you know, I'm not bragging on myself, but yeah, you know, I had a great 45-minute workout. I don't have any aches and pains. I feel good. I wish everybody felt as good as I do at 58. I mean, that's the reality.
Tony, you're in better shape at 58 than most guys are at 38 today.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's insane, but it is what it is. But no, in terms of objectivism, the point would be that they went kind of beneath reality by fucking me over or whatever the moral mistake was, and they have to get back to reality. They went beneath reality. They were at it or above it, right? They were a good moral character and they had a good relationship with me. They dug themselves a hole. You have to now fill it back up genuinely and get it back to fucking level, on point. It needs to be proportional, directly proportional. In my judgment, and my judgment has to be as unbiased as possible. I have to kind of like, you know, put aside any kind of emotions and lingering things like that as best as I can. And they need to get back to reality. And unless and until they do, you should not trust them. And I certainly fucking won't. And people, again, who make these massive mistakes, man, it's really fucking rare. I mean, what would it take for Bernie Madoff, you know, this infamous fraud who fucked over his family and his sons and all these people, to get back to being a trusted individual, someone you trust to do your banking for you? Nothing. There's almost nothing on earth that guy can fucking do to make that happen. Like, because it's just who he is. You know, he spent so much time and so much effort to be a fraud like that. That's what we see in the manosphere, these scammers. These guys have been scamming for 5, 10, 15 years. Just fucking complete bullshitters. These keyboard jockeys and these losers and these fucking course grifters. They're not just going to change because they got busted. That's all a scam. That's like catching a fat kid and, you know, stealing cookies out of the cookie jar. Oh, he won't do it next time. Of course he's going to do it next time. He's fat kid stealing cookies out of the cookie jar. It's kind of a very loose analogy, but.
Yeah, you know what? I want to go to action over words because I'm big on that. Because what happens is that, you know, you can be in a business relationship or say in a marriage or in a relationship with a girl or, you know, your girlfriend, and, you know, people will ask you questions. And I think that my mind is more focused towards people's actions than the words.
Yep.
And because words are easy to say, it's actions that is what really shows what's going on in your life. I mean, I think that's really important as men, that we deal with that actions are what counts. You can go on Twitter and all your social media and say all sorts of things, but let's look at your actions. You know, I think this is one of the reasons why, like, when somebody's telling you to do something, I think look at their actions, look at behind the scenes. How are they living? So I think that's one of the big issues we're having in this sphere right now, is that people are not what they say they are. And that really, really bothers me. And I think what's happening now is we're having, I want to call it, and I'm hoping that it's a great awakening in the manosphere, that men are just like, you know what? It's time for men to be men. Stop following. Don't be a follower. Don't call yourself a follower. Be a leader. Call yourself a subscriber, not a follower.
That's a good point.
I want to add something on here, and you mentioned, Tony, acting on verba, actions over words. Talk is cheap, basically, right? It is. So think about this. This is very simple, right? Let's think about this in terms of energy. How much energy, like calories, energy, does it take to open your mouth and blab? Blah, 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 blah. How much energy does it take to walk or run or even move around physically? It takes more energy. I don't know the exact fucking numbers on this. It doesn't matter. The point is, moving my mouth is a lot easier than physically fucking moving around doing things. That's why we say act and non-verba. Actions are expensive. That means you mean business. They're much harder to fake. They're riskier to fake. Words, it can be, especially women. This is how women play men, right? They just they do one thing and then they say another. Talk, 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 talk. They sweet talk you, put their tits in your face, blah, blah, blah. But with men, it's much the same. Watch what we say in the manosphere. Watch what a girl does, ignore what she says. For whatever fucking reason, I guess because of all the frauds hiding behind all the bullshit, no one ever told the men in the manosphere to watch what men do and ignore what they say, right? No one fucking does that because they don't want to get caught being a fucking fraud. And the manosphere is overwhelmed and filled like a swamp with frauds. And it's disturbing and disgusting, and it needs to end immediately. And it will.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I've made a few comments on different shows that which is worse. Maybe you guys can answer this question. Simping for a woman or simping for a man? I'm going to say simping for a man.
Probably.
It's worse.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that our men's community is guys simping on their favorite guy. So why can't you let this guy stick up for himself?
Oh, Tony, pay attention to me. Here's my super chat. Oh, I'm a super fan, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So anybody else, jump in, man. Jump in. Feel free. This is open for the panel.
This is great. I'm having a good time.
Gonzo, I know you always have something to say. Let's get it out.
I'm just smoking on it with yeah, I mean, I think honestly, with the CME and everything, I think we just need to forgive all those guys. I think we just need to
flamethrower it all. Flamethrower. Yep.
Yeah.
Dead people don't talk.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing. I think I mentioned this in the video, but it's like, I do believe that people can be redeemed, but it's not like a simple process. It's not it's like, it's not like if these guys just came out and made a video and they were like, oh yeah, well, I'm sorry I did this, I realized it was wrong. These guys are, this guy's a career criminal, frauds, and I bent my morals to probably make some money and or just whatever. Even if they came out and said that, I think it's like, they just gotta, I don't know, they would have to just demonstrate over a period of time.
Yeah, exactly. Action.
Yeah.
I can add this though, Guns. I really loved your video, by the way. Like I told you, really, I was impressed. At 22, I could not have made that. I will say though that at 32 years old, I'm actually kind of impressed with myself that I've actually inspired by speaking so much truth and dropping such pure red pills that were never meant to be dropped in the manosphere, that I've inspired entire gangs of men to try to destroy me. Like I'm taking on like 10 men at the same time, basically, and they can't do jack shit, and they're all going to burn. So I've been thinking about that. Like I get hate from the feminists, from the mainstream media, from the fake news, way more than anyone in the manosphere by far. No one's ever even got close to what I've done based on last year, right? But even on top of that, even in the manosphere, I have people that support me. They see the truth of what I'm doing. And then also I have entire gangs of men trying to destroy me. My YouTube channel, copyright strikes, privacy complaints, all kinds of manipulative fucking bullshit and attacks and smear campaigns and character assassination and defamation and endless bullshit. And they still can't fucking stop me. So I'm just tooting my own horn, but I'm pretty proud of that. That these grown men, you know, they're not even men, of course, mama's boys, but.
Well, let me play the
Kind of like the story of Donald Trump almost.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah.
For anybody who's just joined us, I'm going to play this real quick. Just a real quick. Here we go.
Need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy. So?
Yeah. I'm the #1 villain, man. I love it. Well, I you know, if you're not a villain today, you know, let me say this. You know, I've talked to Michael Foster a lot today, just coincidentally, and that man is a hero. And I think today most villains, that's considered by mainstream, whether it's in a community or it's in wider culture, if you're not a villain, if you are a villain, you're a hero. And if you're not a villain, you're either a sheep or you're just a piece of shit. And it's a good thing today to be considered a villain by people with weak values and just kind of this mindless, monotonous way they live life. Even early on, for example, with the COVID crap, I was very anti-mask from the get-go, especially particularly the mask mandate. It's the mandate that really bugged me. I saw the tyranny and the idiocy of this, the insanity. And I really thought, too, what the founding fathers would do. They would just, not advocating, they would shoot immediately. They had no tolerance for this kind of crap. That the idea that you would force one of them to put a mask on their face against their own will is just would have been ludicrous, and they would have shot you like dead instantly. But I got hate for that, though. I had people telling me that as a business owner, I needed to stand up and tell people to wear a mask and shit. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You don't have to wear a mask at my fucking event. And I'm going to do everything within my power as a content creator to tell people that masks are fucking gay. They're for losers. 100% losers. So I took heat for that, though, even behind the scenes, not just in public. In public, it's one thing, but even in private. And people got a big boot right up the ass for talking to me like that.
I called the local archdiocese around here just to see why the hell are they making the church submit to the state. And when I told them that, I said, well, I didn't directly jump into it like that. I was like, hey, what's I want to attend mass, and they're trying to require mask and all this kind of thing. And basically, she's like, well, she actually called me pious. Of course, I'm only able to speak to women here. There's no men that are even dealing with these types of phone calls. She calls me pious. Of course, I kind of laughed it off a little bit, but she's like, we get a lot of complaints about people that saying I'm not going to come back because there was a member there not, wearing a mask and blah, blah, blah. I finally got to someone up a little higher than her. And of course, it was another woman. And I said, and she's telling me like how the Pope sent these, requirements down and blah, blah, blah. I said, so, and then she was telling me about how it was a state mandate and blah, blah, blah. I said, so why is the church submitting to the state? And she just went blank, didn't know what to say. Yep. I said, so the church is essentially submitting to the state.
Yep.
And so she was trying to use these like, like these religious or biblical quotes and things like that for her argument. And I used that on her.
Man, let me ask you, would Jesus wear a mask?
Hell no. No, exactly. He wouldn't. He went and was touching lepers. He was touching lepers, wasn't he?
Yep.
Laying hands on lepers. Everyone else was scared.
That's right.
And he's going to do his own. He was not afraid of those things. And he made a statement by doing that. So enough said,
Hey, Gonzo, in your video, you talked about the founding fathers. Talk about that real quick.
Yeah, well, those guys would. I'm trying to think of like. Famously, there were at least two of them that I remember who had a huge feud. Like they were constantly feuding and they hated each other. And I can't think of. I think it was Sam Adams and there was one other guy. And if anybody knows, I'll see if I can fact check it in a bit. But there were these guys that they just publicly disputed, and even beyond that, they obviously were trying to create a country that would be stable and that would be on strong principles. and it had to make sense, and it had to not turn to tyranny. And so they were having all these debates and all these, they would get into literal fights over these principles. And it was not like this private thing. It's not like, oh, we just handle that in private. It's like, I don't understand where that even comes from. That whole thing of like, oh, we deal with it in private like a man. I think there is a time to deal with things in private.
Yeah,
I think maybe like obviously like there was that and not to like harp on this or anything, but that whole thing with where Donovan ended up basically just talking a bunch of shit on a live stream, and not really addressing it to the person that it was really meant to go to. There's a time to bring things up privately. I think maybe that was a good example of that. But it doesn't all have to be private, especially like what if somebody scams you, if somebody rips you off, oh, you just go and talk to them in private? Like, where's the accountability for anybody?
Yeah.
That's exactly what they don't want is accountability. That's why they want to keep it all private. Sweep it all under the rug.
Let me tell you guys something. I watched a video yesterday that someone had sent me, link, and it was one of those videos where I was watching it. It was like they were talking about telling you how men should be, and I was waiting for it, It was one of those videos where it's wait for it. There it is. Buy my course.
Yeah.
Buy my course. If you buy my course, your divorce won't be so rough. If you buy my course, I was waiting for the hook, and there it was, plain in my face. The hook is always there. The message has been watered down. I don't care what anybody says. When somebody says stimulus checks are in, to me, that was a slap in the face that people actually needed this money to pay the rent, to get groceries, to the fact that somebody is poaching your stimulus check from you is disgusting to me.
Yep.
Disgusting. And if you guys don't see that, anybody watching this video, it's just incredible. It's just incredible.
I can give some historical background to this, Tony, and you'll understand this, I think, very quickly, and the reason why it was so. So in the manosphere, the pickup artist community, and even the red pill once it got going, but even the pickup artist community in the 2000s, we're talking long fucking time ago, right? Early 2000s, mid and late. There was a very strong aversion to commercializing anything in the manosphere. Anything. Didn't matter how legitimate it was. Any charging for anything was just frowned upon aggressively. Super aggressively. And I even saw this in the red pill community up until it got quarantined basically and started falling apart 2018. And I recognized that was the same concept. And I wasn't perfectly okay with it because I really love what I do. And I know what I do is super fucking solid. It's gold, right? O'Shea Duke Jackson called the 21 Convention the gold standard of events for men in the manosphere and really in the world. And he's right. He hasn't even been to it. And he knows that. And people tell me that to my face too, that have been to it. Speakers, attendees, and all that. You guys know. But even though I disagree with it a little bit, I knew that there was some... Thanks, Frank. But there was merit to it as well. And the rampant course grifting and scamming that has swamped the manosphere now, just absolutely disgusting. It's all around you, left and right, constantly. This is the reason why the manosphere for so fucking long had so much aversion to commercializing anything. Because I think, and there's reasons we can get into that are deeper than this, but that they had a good reason to be averse to this stuff. And now that that's gone away a little bit, now it's just overfilled with garbage. Just coarse garbage, this and that, and scam from these fat losers that fuck fat women. I mean, it's a fucking shit show. It's just like, Coach John Anthony called it. He called all these frauds a steaming pile of shit. And I was like, that's perfect. That is exactly what this is. It's a steaming pile of fucking horse shit. This giant mound of it by a couple 100 pounds. That's what this is. You have these losers that have never fucked a hot girl in their life teaching beta males that are hurt and wounded how to fuck women, except the guy teaching it has never fucked a hot woman, and he's charging you all this fucking money, and he's a fraud and a scammer and a criminal and all these fucking things. It's like 10 layers of fucked up and retarded is what we see now. We have old men looked at the crypt keeper that haven't had a same mat lay in 30 fucking years, teaching 20-year-olds how to get laid. It is insane. It is so fucking retarded. The English language lacks the appropriate descriptors for it. It is unbelievably fucked.
I want to make a disclosure here real quick, is that I want to, and I think Anthony will agree with me. I don't care. I truly don't care what a man is attracted to. Okay. There's, a woman that's overweight, hey, that's fine. If a guy loves her, he loves her. That's great. If men like what they like, and I'm okay with that. I don't pick on what people, but I think the issue is that when somebody is telling you something and like, this is what you need to do, and they're doing the exact opposite, I think that's the issue right there. That's the issue. It's not that we're hating on somebody that's not in shape, or a guy that's not in shape, or a woman that's not in shape. The issue is that it's not hate, but what it is somebody's telling you to do this and they're not doing it in their life. That is words over action. That is not acta non verba. That is verba non acta.
That's right.
And that's the issue with things that are going on right now to me. I don't care who anybody dates. What you're attracted to is what you're attracted to, and I'm okay with that. I don't judge anybody, period, but I don't judge anybody by, the type of whatever relationship they're in. That's fine. But I do look really down to somebody that tells me to do something or tells other people to do something and they're not doing it themselves.
Or they're doing the opposite.
Yeah, they're doing the exact opposite. So.
Yeah, I wanted to say, Tony, just a quick question. How many courses do you think there are on the manosphere right now? And right, there's probably dozens, hundreds, right? Would you agree, Tony?
Yeah.
How many courses are there? If you can name or count them, how many courses are there in the manosphere on how to fuck fat women? There's zero. There are no courses on that, except a lot of these guys selling fucking bullshit to men trying to basically get laid, right? In some form or another, they want to understand women and put their penis in a vagina. Whatever the fucking motivations, the goals, all the specifics of it, doesn't matter. None of these courses are selling men on how to bang fat women, except behind the scenes, that's what all these guys bang half the time, or no women at all. But it's just completely fake. It's just fictional. Not even fat women, right? So I just wanted to highlight that, illustrate like how retarded this all is, right? All these courses on women, be a man. None of them advertise the truth because no one would buy it. Hey, my name is Joe Schmo Scumbag. I bang nothing but fat women, and I'm going to teach you how to bang fat women. Buy my course for $1,000. Nobody would fucking buy it. Now, some people do like fat women. I understand that. Some men like fat women, right? I like big butts, and I cannot lie. But nobody's paying for that shit. Ain't nobody. You don't, because you probably don't. It ain't that fucking hard. They're fat women. Who
said it? There's fat women getting hit on by Chad, so these average dudes don't even have a shot.
Well, to me, that's more of a social media issue and a
social media dating thing.
There's a lot of validation that all women get, and that's a non-issue. But I think we're really talking again. We're going back to verba, not acta, which is words over actions, and that's the part that bothers me.
Hey, quick thing on the chat. Ultra testosterone. Can you describe where you're seeing these things? Ultra testosterone. That guy chatting. Mm-hmm. I'd appreciate. Don't drop a link because it's going to get hidden by the chat. But just describe where you're seeing these things. I'd appreciate that. Thank you. He left a few comments like that, so he'll get into it hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm amazed at how. Let me just pop off on this, Tony. I think you'll appreciate this. Maybe you have a similar experience in life, Tony, given that we're both Tonys, basically. Both Anthonys. I am just amazed at how consistently people have vastly underestimated me in my life. Like, I'm still really young at 32. And whether I was 18, 21, 25, or 30 or 32, it's like your enemies just don't learn. No matter, you can just clobber them into the dust and make them cry. And they're so fucking dumb, or their head is so far up their ass that they get up and do the same shit over again. And you got to smack them down all over again. Every fucking time. And it's like, I don't know, it's just interesting that these people There's probably some to it I'm not seeing quite yet, but yeah, it's I don't know if you had some experience in your life, Tony, but I've had that experience many times over, and it's amusing. It gets more amusing the older I get because you get more powerful and you get wiser and older and more experienced, and then you just clamp down on people even harder. So, little monologue I wanted to drop.
That's all right. I do want to welcome our newest mod, and that is Anthony Velasquez. I believe he was kicked off another channel, so he gets a wrench here. Yeah.
Nice.
So we want to welcome him, and so he is the one that you pop off in the wrong way. Anthony's wrench is going to be savage, and that's what I want. For me, it's a big deal for me to drop a wrench to somebody, just so you guys know. It's a big deal. I don't throw them out there to get subscribers or people to like me. I throw them out there because I value their judgment and I value the person. Okay? Let's go back. Let's get back on the subject here. I'm looking through, see if I need to block anybody. That's all. I do want you to keep the chat respectable tonight, guys. So please do that for me. Thank you. But let's get back to the subject, which is you're the bad guy in someone's story. Gonzo or Man, do you guys have any? You don't have to tell it specifically, but do you have any stories where you were the bad guy?
Oh yeah, I've got a great one.
Let's get it out.
All right, so this was so some of you may know that I run a publishing business, and I publish books, and one of the books that I had published, I can't remember. This was a couple of years ago, but I had published this book, and I ended up just on a whim because all this nonsense started happening, and on Twitter, I'm just fucking around, and I made this meme, and it was like, "Bread lives matter," and I had this piece of bread. It was hanging from a rope, and I was just like, bread is so oppressed. We eat bread and we forget about it. We don't even know that it's there. You can save a piece of bread at your local grocery store. All right, this bread thing is a serious issue, guys. And I was just trolling, right? And I didn't even think twice about it. And then this guy who I had published, he ended up, of course, he saw this, but he didn't do anything about it until several days later. I'm sure you guys heard about this on the news. There was that incident where this guy was found hanging, and it was a black guy, I think, or it was they weren't sure if it was a suicide or if it was a lynching. It was this weird thing that happened, and I still don't. I didn't really follow up with that, so I don't know what happened with that. But essentially, everything was fine, and then that piece of news came out, and then this guy was like, "Hey, look at this horrible, evil man who made a lynching joke," which it wasn't, obviously. But look at this horrible guy who was a lynching joke. He made a lynching joke, and basically he was just like, "Go ahead." He in private, he came to me and he was like, "Go ahead and get bent." And then he sent his folks after me, his little goons after me. And it was funny. It was just really funny because people were genuinely upset about the whole bread thing. It had nothing to do with race. It had nothing to do with anything, really. It was so abstract on top of, it was basically people just read their political tension into it. All the conflict in their mind that they're seeing on the news, all the
brainwashing.
Yeah, they were reading it into it. And that was the amazing thing, because in my post, there was zero anything to do with race. The only thing that was closely related to race was just the bread lives matter. All right. But of course, it's a piece of bread. So people were genuinely getting offended over this, and they were like, he's making a lynching joke, he's doing all this and that, and everything. Wow, this guy is terrible. He's a white supremacist, yada 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 yada, the whole 9 yards. And so, and then people came out of the woodwork from ages and ages ago, who I had known before, and they came back for seconds, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, we're gonna cancel this guy." And they did their thing, and they were like, and I was basically just like, "Yeah, dude, bread has been hung." Like, y'all, I'll just have you know, you guys are getting literally offended over a piece of bread. And and
Was it wheat bread? Was it wheat bread or white bread?
It was white bread, actually.
What?
It was a piece of white bread. Exactly. It was a very strange situation. But yeah, nothing really came of it. I was in fact the bad guy to many people. And but it was very amusing. It was just very amusing sitting back and watching that take place. And I pulled the book, obviously. Just, who wants to deal with that? So I was just like, okay. But yeah, that's basically it. That was a situation where I was the bad guy.
Yeah, I do want to continue with bad guy stories. So maybe we'll go to man next. I'm going to use the bathroom real quick. And Anthony Velasquez and all my other wrenches, you guys are in control for as long as it takes me here, which is not going to be long. But I do want to invite anybody that has any objections to this, what we're talking about, any trolls watching, anybody else that is, who knows who could be watching. You're welcome to come on the stream. You are so welcome to come on the stream. You want to be the bad guy or you want to be the good guy tonight? That's what it's about. I will bring anybody worth a shit on. Speak up now or forever hold your peace. So I'm going to be right back. So my mods are in control. And let's go to man. So you have a bad guy story.
Dead men tell no tales. Nah, just kidding.
I got something after man I can go with.
no. I don't know if I don't know, and maybe I haven't put that much thought or energy into seeking it out that much. But I do know, I do know that someone that I was a bad guy in their story for several years, at least 10 years, now has basically have this mindset shift and seems authentic. And now is like a teammate now. And so I can live with that. I'm cool with that. But I was a bad guy in his story for 10 years, at least. Anyway, somebody else?
Yeah, I can go. A lot of guys watching, or maybe later, so a lot of them I would think are familiar with the marrying Medusa story. Mm-hmm. I married a hooker in Las Vegas, all this stuff. It's pretty funny. And for several years we were married and this and that. And she was at the conventions and stuff. She would interview speakers for the 21 Report. She's actually helped get that show going back in the day. Now, in my speech, I indicated that I made some mistakes. I did own that a little bit, but I was so angry at the time that was not the focus. And given the extreme nature of what she was doing, literally sucking dick with the wedding ring on for cash. I mean, this is like really hard. This isn't even like regular cheating. This is like fucking straight. Straight cash stuff. So there was a lot of really extreme shit that really diverted attention, even legitimately away from me. But also, I think I did not take enough ownership for the mistakes that I made. And as the time has gone by, I've realized in that relationship, I was an asshole in a lot of ways. And so some of the bad guy stuff she was offloading to me was bullshit. Typical kind of woman shit, offloading responsibility, but some of it wasn't. And I know that in my next marriage that someday I'll have, I'll be because I am now, I'll be definitively, fundamentally different in how I operate as a husband. So at the time, I did not understand that. It's taken years to really wrap my head around like what mistakes did I make. And her being this extreme, fucking just BPD chick, that doesn't excuse in any way, shape, or form. It has some influence, maybe, crazy making behavior they call it, but it's pretty minimal. A lot of that was just me. My own childhood trauma, my own blue pill beliefs or purple pill beliefs that I had. Was definitely kind of purple pill at the time, I would say legitimately. And due to my influence from the pickup artist part of the manosphere and then kind of lingering blue pill beliefs, the combination of those two, the collision. So yeah, and I actually relate a lot to Tanner Guzy. I think he had something similar. I can't speak for him on those issues, but he had a marriage years ago, before his current wife, Brooke, and he was not a good husband. I think he's come out and said that flat out. And he actually managed to even get a divorce in the Mormon church, which is like really, really hard to get, just because of how, I don't know, I guess how it went down or whatever they did to do that. But I hear it was pretty difficult. But I can relate to him, and I've talked to him about that a little bit, and it's kind of cool. But yeah, I don't think the average person understands that based on the speech, just given the egregious nature of what the fuck was going on, how angry I was, and even as the physical facts of like, holy fuck, like what's going on? You married a hooker in Vegas? Like, whoa, sounds like a movie. I also wanted to say too, before maybe someone else goes or Tony gets back, but I hope that, well, we're all, even the oldest guy here, Tony, is only 58, which is still pretty young. He's not like 90 or something. So we all live in this kind of same modern era of America. We've grown up in it. Tony has a different experience than the rest of us, but even that is not that much different than what we have. So I think, for example, this villain hero stuff was much more, in the founding fathers' time, there wasn't this going on, right? So let me say this. I hope that our culture can get healthier, more positive, and more rational, more level-headed, to a point where the villains are the villains and the heroes are the heroes. Right now in clown world, everything's fucking flipped upside down, right? So I'm the fucking bad guy. All the feminists want to fucking kill me and castrate me and, all this fucking shit and bankrupt me and make me homeless, right? And even in the manosphere, it's filled with fucking frauds and shit, right? And that should be a better place. And it is, but it's still pretty fucked up. But I hope that throughout the century in America and Western culture, we can really fundamentally improve things to where if someone's considered a villain in public, they are a villain. You don't have to like fucking flip it in your head and try to understand it some different complex way. It just is what it is. And a hero is a hero. Trump, for example, was the villain, right, in 2020 and 2016, but he was not a villain. He was a hero. This guy was a fucking champion, a badass. But he was smeared and painted, aggressively so, to an extreme level to be this monster villain, orange Hitler, blah, 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 like all this insane shit. So I really want to see all that crap die, all that philosophy die that's so fucking toxic. And if it doesn't die, then it's going to cause even more problems and blow up in our face.
The mainstream media is going to have to die.
Yeah.
Those people are going to have to be held accountable.
Yep. I'll let, yeah. There you go.
I just want to say that I'm wearing my Army camo shirt tonight. So it's much respect to guys like Frank Pesci, Anthony Velasquez, any other of my Army peeps. This is for you guys. So much love, honor, and respect to my.
Appreciate you, man. Nice shirt.
Yeah, to my peeps who have served, and I have a lot of respect for guys who served. So I just wanted to get that out there. So I don't know if anybody noticed my shirt, but let's go to Frank. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak a little bit on what Anthony's saying. Media theory is something really powerful. People are able to frame your perspective on somebody based on how much information they're able to feed you and in what light they're able to deliver it. And people go to college for this. People study this. I mean, this is science. This is psychology, and it's super effective. I mean, you see it. You see people driving around in their car with a mask on. You see people who are ready to take up arms against you if you're not wearing a mask in a store. You have the very same people who are out there calling people Nazis, asking you, where are your papers? Yep. I mean, we are entering into an unprecedented time here in Western culture. While the rest of the world is consolidating power around us, you have Russia on the border of Ukraine ready to make an invasion. I predict probably by early May, when the winter passes there will be a land grab over there. And if the U.S. makes a mistake in how they calculate that, it could be a problem. It could be a war. You have China surrounding Taiwan, and you have the United States over here worrying about freaking passport visas or vaccine passports. And it's going to come to the point where some of these states are probably not going to allow you to leave your state if you don't have this. And then you have states like, where I live. I now live out in the Ozarks. It's a red state, which I'm happy to be here. But they're passing laws preemptively saying, we're not going to accept any new gun control. We're not going to accept any new vaccine stuff. And the federal government comes back and says, well, we have the supremacy clause. Hold on while I reset my camera. 1 second.
Sure.
I just put a link in the chat.
So,
and that link right there is for if there's somebody that is a content creator that's watching this and has enough balls to come on and talk about something. Well, this is, you're the bad guy in someone's story. If you want to come and defend yourself or to talk about it, you know, this is a rational show. I am the rational male. So I will let you on and we will have a rational discussion because I'm sure there's a few trolls out there. So hit that link and sack up. That's all I can say. So.
Yeah, man. So like I was saying, Tony, you know, we're going to need more people with balls to stand up because of the very fact that media theory is so powerful. They're framing us as the bad guy. They're framing half the population. They're framing gun owners. They're framing families. They're framing men. They're framing people who don't want to get a COVID vaccine that literally contains similar strains or even the same strains as the mad cow disease. Like there's crazy stuff out there, and I'm wrong to say that I don't want that to be put in my body. To the extent, again, where the people who are out here calling, you know, good people Nazis are going to ask you, where are your papers? Mm-hmm. So unless we're willing to stand up and become somebody's bad guy, we're going to be sent to the gulags. And that is coming. You know, and you have to respect the people that are out there that, you know, like Anthony's story. When this whole thing first started a couple of years ago, it was crazy because I was brand new. I just, you know, went to the 21 convention. I was like, oh, this is really awesome. This is a really nice, cool place. All of a sudden, this crazy, like, war starts breaking out. I was like, damn, I don't want to be anywhere near that. And a couple of years later, we look and we say, wow, Anthony's not the bad guy. Anthony's calling out what is wrong. Anthony's calling out what he has seen because he has had the unique perspective to work hand in hand with these folks. Yep. So what he's able to see things from a perspective that I'm not. And the public, quite frankly, is not. Because when you are at certain levels of an executive nature, then you're privy to, you know, higher disclosures. Yep. And I like to say time reveals all truth. And that's a fact. Time does reveal all truth. And, you know, all of us, we want to ascend, to greater enlightenment. We want to understand things better. We want to be more effective and more proactive at everything we do, right? That's like a desire that's innate within inside the human experience. And we can't, assume that we know all things. That's why we have to be careful about framing opinions too early, because time does reveal all truth. Like Anthony said earlier, it's the middle of the road people that we got to watch out for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just want to say, too, I think
you want to say something, brother?
Yeah, I think this bad guy story against Mr. T is fixing to collapse. And I think this
Mr. T, there's a bad guy. Oh.
Yeah. And the globalism agenda.
Elaborate.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, elaborate? Yeah, just
elaborate. Yeah.
I think people are really giving him a good look. And I think the pandemic, scandemic, is losing its foundation. It's crumbling. And when that's crumbling, then of course there's it's more to it than that. But I think it's crumbling. I really do. I think people are just playing along right now. But I think once it crumbles, people catch on to it more and more and more. Mr. T is going to look like a good guy. And then people are start to see a little more slowly. Not as quick as we've seen, but
a woman, brother.
A woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree.
You gotta count the cost, because you're gonna make enemies along the way. But if people collectively start to wake up and start to stand up to this, then you know what? We're going to be on the offensive, and people are going to be way less likely to come up to you and ask you, where are your papers? You understand? So, I think there's a lesson to be learned here, trying to stay to the topic here that was laid out tonight. People have taken hard stands and have put themselves in the limelight here in the past, Anthony being one of those people, Trump being one of those people. We can all think about people, and we're talking, about Anthony. Anthony's here with us, so we're proud of him and his work. But these people are willing to take risk. They're willing to put themselves out there, and they were obviously, picked up some enemies along the way. But that's inspirational. That's inspirational to the larger message of the things that need to be done. If we're not willing to stand up for our families, if we're not willing to stand up for the truth, if we're not willing to stand up against this overreach that is coming at us from every direction, we're going to drown. We're going to drown because it's the middle of the road people that are the problem. That was said here tonight.
I guess something I want to share as a follow-up to Frank. Man, you can go if you want.
Oh, I was just going to say really quick how the tentacles run into almost everything we touch, we look at. That globalist, those tentacles are running everything. And I'm not trying to promote my channel, but I'll be having Michael Bunker on Monday night. And we're going to be talking about consumerism, propaganda, and just a lot of things that I feel like aren't addressed enough.
Yeah, Michael Bunker is awesome, you guys. You guys got to follow Michael Bunker on YouTube. Great guy. He's an off the grid guy. I mean, you're talking a guy that is absolutely savage. Makes everything, does everything. He lives the life I think that most people fantasize about. Most people, what's the other word I'm looking for? Not fantasize, but
I know what you're saying. Glamorize.
Yeah, like I live like that, but I don't think most people could.
He's living that life by conviction, by what he believes.
Yeah, good guy. But follow Michael Bunker on Instagram, on YouTube. In fact, Anthony, he would make a great guest on 21 or Redman Group.
He's a good man. Yeah,
good guy. Had him on here a bunch of times. And in fact, Michael Bunker, if you're watching, you want to jump on, you're welcome. But I did pin the link for this StreamYard and this live. So if anybody wants to come on that disagrees with us and wants to be the bad guy tonight, because tonight is you're the bad guy in someone's story. So if you want to come on and be the bad guy, when I say bad guy, you need to be not just somebody to be a troll, but if you're somebody watching that is legitimately disagreeing and we know you're welcome to come on, but that's it. So anybody else clicks it, I'm just going to flush you. So I got a little. I guess
something really important I'd like to share.
Okay, real quick, has anyone read The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz? Anybody familiar with that here? Okay, I appreciate the comment, Light in the Dark. I just wanted to put that out there. So just want everybody to know that they are recognized in the chat for sure.
So when Frank was talking earlier, it got me thinking about something that I thought would be perfect for this short story for this show tonight. So in spring 2019, I think, or maybe summer, like June, I don't know if it was May or June, I went to Elliot Hulse's grounding camp. It's like it's kind of like 21 convention, but loosely, but it's much more rugged outdoors. It's like 2 days, 3 days. It's pretty cool. And I think he did his last one. I think he finally closed it down. He did like 10 or 12 of them. He did one like 2020, I think, in Florida. Anyway, grounding camp, it's kind of outdoor, super rugged 21 convention type thing for men, Elliot Hulse. And at the beginning of this thing that he invited me to up in New York, it was the first time I'd ever been to upstate New York. I'd only briefly seen the city as a kid one time because I have family in New Jersey. So I went to upstate New York. It was fucking beautiful, all that stuff, right? It was amazing.
That's my stomping ground, Anthony. That's where I grew up.
Yeah, I loved it. I was really impressed. Yeah. Anyway, so at the beginning of this whole camp thing, it's like 100 guys there, right? It's very similar to 21, kind of the way everybody, kind of attendees, and even some of the 21 convention attendees were there, I saw. So it's kind of cool. Anyway, at the beginning of this thing, Elliot, I was just kind of chilling. I just wanted to like experience as an attendee, a manosphere consumer, as Tony Bruno would call it.
Yeah.
But of course, Elliot being Elliot, calls me out and like singles me out. I'm like, oh shit, okay. Mm-hmm. And then I don't remember exactly how the conversation was going. Elliot was leading the camp. And he singles me out. He's like, Anthony, do you like being hated? And this is like, it was a very stern, he wasn't mean about it, but it was a very stern question. It was serious. And intense. It was intense. And it caught me completely off guard. I'm like, whoa. It was so stunning because I realized as soon as he asked it, I started thinking about it. I'm like, I don't know. I've never actually asked myself that question before. Do I enjoy being hated? Obviously, I've been a villain for a while, running my business in different ways. Last year in 2020, it was particularly intense with the feminists, but even before that, I've gotten a lot of heat over the years. Running a YouTube channel, you just see negative comments behind the scenes and in public, people just trashing you all fucking day long. They want you to die, you're a piece of shit, or like really negative shit. Eventually you become immune to it, but it's still hate, whether or not you're kind of have thick skin. Anyway, I had to tell him, I was like, in front of 100 people, I told Elliot, I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to think about it, but that's the first time in my life anyone's asked me that. And I've honestly never even considered it before. I have to actually think about it and get back to you. And I eventually did. And I realized that I kind of do enjoy being hated. And I think there's a reason for it. And it's actually very positive and productive. So being the villain, right? Being hated. As long as your enemies are like legitimate scumbags, right? I don't want to be hated by people I view as good. I have good moral values and good philosophies. I want to be hated by scumbags, right? Real villains. But I think when you're that kind of modern villain, when you're really doing something positive in the world, you get to feed off the energy that these people feed, excuse me, that they give you, right? And one of the ways I do that, for example, is like with these hats. Not necessarily the one I'm wearing, that's a little different, but the other ones, like 100% toxic masculinity and make women great again. A lot of these are actually a reflection of hate. These people, these feminists and these soy boys and these losers and shit, what do they hate? Well, number one, they hate toxic masculinity. That's been a thing for several years now, right? That's high up on that's easily top 10 of the shit they hate. Toxic masculinity, right? So what do? I put 100% toxic masculinity on a fucking hat and wear it proudly, legitimately. It's a bit tongue in cheek, but it's real, right? And I think that's a good example of like hatred coming at you. These people really do hate you. They might be delusional and irrational and sheep and brainwashed, however you want to describe it. But the reality is when they feed you that energy, that hatred, those words, the yelling at you and all this shit, for me, it just kind of riles me up and it makes me more creative. It gives me more energy. It actually motivates me to fight back, to defend myself. And not even just defend myself, go on offense, right? It's not enough to defend yourself sometimes. Sometimes you have to go on offense. You have to attack. You have to counterattack. You have to, get shit going. What is this saying? Give war a chance, right? I don't know exactly who said that, but I think it's a pretty famous quote from somewhere. And that's kind of what the hatred from people I really view as scum. It's what it inspires me to do. A lot of my creativity, I make up a lot of interesting things in the manosphere. Tony, we were at dinner the other night with a guy who came in from out of town. And he knew me a little bit personally, right? My name. But he had no idea. He saw Make Women Great Again blow up in the news. In the news. And he had no idea I was behind it. I was so proud of that.
That was you.
Yeah. That's how famous my creations are, right? But that creation, Make Women Great Again, which I think is the most famous thing I've ever done, just in terms of numbers, right? Popularity and stuff. Great. I love it. That's a reflection of hatred, though, right? These feminists fucking riled me up even politically going after Trump and Make America Great Again, but then also the feminists coming after men and fathers and masculinity and stuff. All that hatred they fucking threw at us, I kind of kept chewing on it and it fucking pissed me off. And what did I do? I created something great. I gave birth to Make Women Great Again, and I threw it back in their fucking face, and they ate it up like fucking idiots and made it super popular and famous permanently. That'll be known that was history in the manosphere and even on the internet to a large degree. That was massive. And to the point that people know it. They don't even know me. They know about it, right? That's not the first time I've heard that. They have no idea I was behind that. They just hear about it. And like, oh yeah, that fucking Make Women Great Again shit. I'm like, yeah, that's completely my idea. It was awesome.
I took a screenshot of your hat and I made a post on my Instagram back in 2018 with just Make Women Great Again, like later 2018. Like 6 months later, it was completely like, it looked like they doctored the picture where you couldn't even see the words. I have to send a screenshot to Tony and Gonzo later. But I went back and looked at that post, and I said, "Oh man, they cropped that photo like 6 months later." Instagram did. Like, what?
It's weird. Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's Make Women Great Again is a really effective tool for combating feminism. Like they bought that shit hook, line, and sinker, and it fucked them pretty hard. It showed America and in some cases, some parts of the world, like we do need to make women great again because they suck. They're fat. They're promiscuous. They're
You're not supposed to say that, though. Don't ever say that. You know, don't ever place accountability on a female like that. And it's like,
and guess who doesn't give a fuck?
Right.
Yep. Make women great again, 100%. 2020, 2021. Yep. It's going to keep getting bigger and bigger. We haven't even put the speeches out yet. We have the speeches edited, a few of them. They're actually ready to go. but we're working on an intro, like a bumper for the front, like animation. That's all. That's the only thing holding them up. We have 3 of them edited so far, and we could do even more. I'm just working on. I have my guy working on patriarch speeches and regular 21 convention and stuff. But those speeches are going to roll out. Oh man, it's going to piss off so many feminists. I'm excited. We're going to use all the media too. Hey, it's Marty.
Do you have a convention this year coming out?
Oh, of course. We're doing 21 Summit.
Is there
again.
another convention this year, Anthony?
Oh yeah. 15
right on.
year
When is that?
anniversary.
October?
October, yeah. Yep, end of October. Yep.
Awesome.
I'll announce it soon. I was going to announce it.
I hope I can make it out, man. Is it?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I want to welcome Marty. Marty, how you doing today?
Hey.
Good to see you.
I got a great story about why I'm the bad guy, but I don't want to interrupt anyone.
Oh, who did we lose? We lost Frank. Yeah, we lose Frank. Damn it. But
hey, I'm up to get going soon, Tony, too.
Yeah, we're going to be shutting down anyways here shortly. But Marty, you know, the whole topic tonight is are you the bad guy in someone's story? And we go back to, we can say, let me bring Frank back on here real quick. But we go back to where, like, whether it be a relationship,
Marty, what up, buddy?
A relationship or something like that, whether it be a marriage or a divorce. And again, we're not here to bag on women or bag on men, but I think everybody has been the bad guy. I really do. I think, in fact, let me play this real quick.
Need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
So everybody's been the bad guy, whether it's legit or not. So I'm gonna ask you a question real quick. How do you deal with somebody that you know you're not the bad guy?
Well, I am the bad guy, and you know, it doesn't matter.
Well, legitimately. I mean, I'm asking.
Well, like I'll tell you, like where did I stream? Was it Finn's channel yesterday? I was getting heat, you know, because as a vet.
No. Let's stay. I want to stay right on.
I just laugh at them because you know what? You're always the bad guy if you're honest with yourself, and you don't. Honest people don't agree with everyone. So honest people don't stick with the gang.
I'm talking personal, on a personal level.
Oh,
whether it be with an ex-wife or a friend, where you know you weren't the bad guy. You were trying to help somebody. You were doing something that was righteous. Whether it be, we can call it righteous anger. So how do you, in other words, how do you deal with something like that mentally? How do you react or respond to that person where you said, you know what, I did my best. I did what I can be, and I was labeled as the bad guy. That's very specific.
I learned in life is that I don't defend myself. So I deal with a lot of liberals here, and you know, I can't keep going to every single person and telling them why I'm right. I just let them rant, and I look at them and just don't care about their goddamn opinion. That's how I roll. And people who know me, like, they'll tell me, why did you do this? Why did you do that? And you know, I just don't care. I just honestly just look at them, because you can't use rational to deal with emotional. So there's no point in dealing with people who don't want to be honest with themselves. Like with an ex-wife, an ex-girlfriend, you just smile and you be kind. You just don't put fuel in the fire. But people, you know, you can't use rational to deal with emotional. I learned that lesson the hard way many years ago. So when people start going off on me and telling me misogyny, this and that, you just look at them.
Well,
because you know deep down you're true.
We're not talking social media. We're talking personal relationships, okay? Personal relationships. Let me ask you a question. When you were legitimately the bad guy, did you apologize? Did you hold yourself accountable for what you did? Because these are the real hard questions that I think that men don't want to answer. It's like, you know what, I played a part in this. Because I'm big on accountability. I'm big on accountability, whether it's a business relationship, it could be my neighbors, it could be family, it could be a relationship with a girl, it could be a relationship with friends. But if I know I did something wrong, I have no, whether they accept my apology, that's a different story. But I'm big on owning that. Yeah, you know what? I made a mistake. So how do you handle somebody? Do you do the same thing, or do
Well,
you?
if I'm a bad guy because I did something wrong, as opposed to being the bad guy because I'm brutally honest,
Yeah.
that's two different things.
Well, that's what I'm asking. So if you did do something wrong,
I like any man's supposed to do, you take accountability.
okay, good.
That's what you have to do. You know, you just need to be able to go up to that person and say, "Hey, look, you know, my bad. How do I make this right?" If you really screwed them. But you know, there's times where you have disagreements. But for me to get on a knee and beg for forgiveness, that's not fucking happening.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying that. But like I think as men, when there is issues, I think it's masculine to go ahead and say, you know, I'm going to offer you basically an olive branch, and it's up to you to take it or not. But I think as men, when we offer that, if somebody doesn't take it, we did our due diligence. We did what we can to make it right. And then you just move on. That's kind of my opinion. I don't know what you think of that, you know.
It depends on who the person is. Because I know with some people, you give them an olive branch and they'll shove it up your butt.
Yeah.
So you have to, it depends on the situation and the person. You know, I know with, like, let's say it's an ex-wife, an ex-girlfriend, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're genuine, if you go above and beyond, there's no fixing it. And you just have to recognize it and sometimes bite your lip. But if it's someone you have deep respect for, it's a different story. It always depends on the person. There's a lot of variables in play. It's not a fixed answer for everything.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think on a personal level, like if me and Anthony had an issue or anybody on this panel, I would come to you and say, hey, you know, you're my friend. You're somebody I respect. I'm going to say, okay, I was wrong. And, you know, maybe apology is not the right word, but to go man to man and face to face, because I'm big on man to man, face to face. And I think everybody on this panel knows that I'm very big on that. Accountability to myself is very important. And now, when I say accountability to myself, I mean accountability to people that I respect also, like everybody on this panel. I respect all you guys. And if I did you wrong, I would expect you to call me out on that also. Mm-hmm. And I would go ahead and I would, you know, anybody that they feel that I've done them wrong, I at least want the chance to state my case. Mm-hmm. Do I beg somebody? Absolutely not. But I do want to say, okay, yes, I was wrong. You know,
Tony, I think the point is not even making an apology a lot of the time, right? Mm-hmm. It's a lot of people, it's not even that important. It's taking responsibility, like you're saying, and making amends. Mm-hmm. The apology can be fucking, especially between men, because it can be kind of like this. No one wants to apologize, right? But at the end of the day, do you even really fucking care? But what the point is, does the guy take responsibility and make amends with you, right? That's the point. Do the words come out of his mouth, I'm sorry, or whatever? No, probably not, or maybe not. Does it really matter, though? It's the point. And the answer is, yeah, probably not. It's the actions, right? Mm-hmm. So the actions demonstrate accountability, responsibility, and genuine effort to make amends for wrongdoing. You know, maybe the guy just, I mean, look at Bill Clinton, right? What did he say, right? Mistakes were made. Mistakes were made. Which is a great line for women if you fuck up genuinely, right? Rather than just dumping out apologies left and right. Well, mistakes were made. Let me see if I can make it up to you, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, the apology, I think, is kind of almost a non-issue a lot of the time. Even for a big mistake, it really comes down to what are you going to do to make it right? Do. The words, the talk, the apology, let me write you a fucking letter about how sorry I am. What do you fucking do? What are you going to do about it? Not what are you going to say?
Yeah. I think sometimes it's best to just not even apologize and just change behavior.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, guys, I got to bounce. I got to bounce.
Okay.
Some good.
Anthony, coming on, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for dinner.
Good to be with you, brother. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Good times.
Appreciate the opportunity, guys. See you soon.
Cheers.
See you, man. Take care. Yeah, I think an apology sometimes they'll use that to pour salt in the wound. People are using apology against you.
Yeah, I think that's, but I think that when somebody knows that, again, the apology, I think the apology as much as forgiveness for somebody
Yeah,
is really for you, whether they accept it or not.
that's
Up
right.
to you, and you move on.
That's right. Yeah.
For me to apologize to somebody,
You know what? Can we
for me to apologize to somebody,
go ahead, brother?
that means I've genuinely said, you know what? I've made a mistake. But I have no issue doing that. It's up to the person, again, whether it's a friend, a family member, a business associate, a girlfriend, a wife, whatever. It's up to them to say, okay, this is genuine. Do I accept this? Do I see that he's being real to me? I don't like bad blood. I really don't. I don't care who it's with. I don't like it. Do I deal with it? I deal with it like a man, probably better than most guys. I can still live my life and move on. But do I think that sometimes it's necessary? Absolutely. I think it's more cleansing to you than it is to the person that you're offering that olive branch or that apology to.
Yeah.
So, but, and again, that's about, for me, that's about being authentic. That's about being genuine. And that's about being real. That's about being real as a man. I think that's very, very important. Relationships with friends, family, women, whatever. But I think everybody needs to understand that the bottom line, it's for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like it's a feel-good thing, but it's about being authentic. So, but Frank, go ahead. You're about to say something.
I'm kind of just, my mind is going in the direction now about how we handled conflict when we were children on the schoolyard or with the bully, right? You learned how to be social. You learned how to conduct yourself among other boys, because if you really stepped out of line, you guys were fighting about it, like a fist fight on the playground. But usually after that fist fight, everything was all good, as long as you didn't go to the extent to try to really embarrass the other kid or really rub sand in his eyes or whatever. If you conducted yourself with some type of restraint and honor, generally you were able to shake hands, and whatever was built up and brewing inside, you were able to put away. Now, one thing that kind of bothers me about modern society today is people play off the safe. There is not a lot of avenues available anymore where violence is acceptable, where you can hash things out and get it dealt with in such a way without having consequences related to law and civil liability.
Right.
For myself, I'm somebody that enjoys training. I do jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and boxing and this stuff, and I've been doing it for a long time. And I could not tell you how many times I have found solace in being able to say to somebody that I've had irreconcilable differences with, to say, hey, why don't you come down to my gym? We'll work it out. And you know what? They never come. They never come. And you know what happens? The problem's over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. They could come to the gym and they could whip my ass, but I'm willing to go to the gym with them.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Because at least in the gym, I can say, hey, we can't
go
ahead, brother.
We can't settle things on the streets anymore like we grew up, Frank. I'm a bit older than you, and things were settled on the streets. When I came home with my
I caught the tail end of it, brother. I'm blessed.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way we settled things. I mean, it really did. I used to come home with a black eye or whatever, and my dad would say, hey, I hope he looks worse than you do. And that was the end of it. It was plain and simple. I didn't get coddled.
Yeah, you should see the other guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've had my ass whooped, and I've whooped some asses, and that's okay. And I'm not a bragging.
Right. And that's life.
Yeah. And that's life. That's life. I've had my ass whooped on the mat.
But usually that resolves it.
Yeah. But yeah, like you say.
And usually that resolves it.
Yeah. Like you say, though, if you invite somebody to come and go ahead and, put on some gloves and let's do it. But that's okay. I think that's a great thing to do, because most of the time when people hash
it ends the argument.
Yeah, it does. It truly does. You know, if anybody has ever been involved in a martial arts club or anything like that, you'll see that there are feuds, and there are times when you spar with somebody, or when you actually, like, you have maybe some negative feelings toward this guy, you're going to see that it actually it's amazing how that primal, we'll call it the primal man, like Gene, will come out of you. But also what happens is that in sportsmanship, what do you do after you finish a match? You always hug that guy. You give him a pat on the back. You stand back and they raise your hand as you're the winner, or the other guy's the winner. And you have to take that gracefully. It's respectful. It's respect to another man. You know, it's not like you've been beat,
Right,
but you've
right.
you've learned a lesson, or you've taught a lesson.
Mhm.
That's really important as men. So
Yeah, I agree.
So, Tony, check this out. I read a story about, you know, during COVID when it first started. This guy was chaptered out of the Marine Corps. Okay, he was a Marine veteran, but he was sent home for, you know, whatever, he couldn't hang, and but he was still able to claim veteran status. So, but he was a total bag of shit. And he's in you know, a supermarket, and he sees two guys in the supermarket. He's like, "Hey guys, you better put on your mask." You know, and they're like, "Hey, you know, screw you, buddy. You know, get out of our face." Then the guy, you know, was following him around the store, giving him a hard time. Finally, he chases the guys down in the parking lot, telling them that he has a weakened immune system, and, you know, this and that, he's at risk. And these guys proceeded to whoop his ass in the parking lot. Okay. And as far as I'm concerned, that guy got what the hell was coming to him. You don't follow dudes around the store and then chase into their car and think that nothing bad can happen to you. But this is the prevailing idea in our society, that you can harass, you could do anything you want to other people, and there's going to be no consequence. And guess what? Those guys didn't get in any trouble. And he looked like a total idiot in the newspaper when his face was all bloodied up, because he picked a fight and he didn't think that they were going to respond, and they did. Now, I'm not saying we need to be bashing people with bats in the street, but there should be in society a certain measure of discourse where, you know, it is acceptable and there is justified reasons to, you know, use fighting as it were. Those guys were, you know, like I said, there was no problem. They were not arrested or anything like that, because what they did was justified. The guy was following them, harassing them, and following them to his car. I think we just need to see more of that. And we need to, that stuff should be publicized so that people learn how to behave. Because, you know, you see what these people do. They'll surround your car at a protest, and then everybody's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he ran over 4 people." Well, don't go jumping on somebody's car. A vehicle is a weapon. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that happens as much anymore, because people have seen enough of it on the news to know, yeah, cars hurt. You know what I mean? So we need to start publicizing the right stuff. Obviously, we risk censorship when we do that. But this is true because, look, I'm a father, right? So if I'm not preparing my children to deal with, you know, those threats that do exist, because inevitably there's somebody that's going to split your wig over something small, and you have to be aware of that. You have to know that there are people out there that don't use good judgment, and they will hurt you before it's time. So as a father, I have to prepare my kids to be able to defend themselves, to be able to have street smarts, to be able to have situational awareness, and to discern where they're at, how to use restraint, what is justified and what is not, because ultimately, God forbid, their life could be cut short by somebody who's willing to, you know, to hurt them or to try to kill them, or they could find themselves on the other side of that and hurting somebody else. So as a father, I have a responsibility to teach my children survival and what is right, just social behavior. Like, I would never tell my children, follow people around the store who are not wearing a mask and follow them to their car. Don't worry, you're doing the right thing. I'd be setting them up for failure. So, you know, we have a duty, not only as parents, but as society, to train the younger people that are coming up, because, you know, we look at the millennials, we look at Gen Z, and, you know, the baby boomers looked at Gen Xers and everything else, and everybody's got terrible things to say about the generation that's coming after them. Instead, rather invest in that generation and raise them right, because if you don't, the world will. And obviously the ideas of the world are not prevailing good wisdom.
Oh, great advice, Frank.
Good
I love
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
We're going to be shutting down here shortly, but one thing I do want to do, I want to invite on the bad guy for the night, which is Anthony Velasquez. Anthony, if you would, go ahead and click that link. I got it pinned, but click that link and jump on because you are the bad guy. You are the newest wrench. And I do appreciate you. And I think you've been a faithful friend and somebody who deserved that. That's not something that I do easily is just drop that. But I think he's done a great job, and I think he's messed with a few people tonight, like Drew, which was funny. But so real quick, I'm going to go around the panel, and the two questions I'm going to start with me. The question is, when you are the bad guy, what do you do? When you aren't the bad guy, what do you do? My simple answer for when I am the bad guy, I reach out to them and I do make an apology. Whether they accept it, that's up to them. But my apologies are sincere. So I'm going to make that a point on that. Now, if I am pinned as the bad guy, I'm not going to let that person take space in my head, plain and simple. I'm going to move on. I will forgive them for sure. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to forgive that person, and that forgiveness is for me. So let's go to Gonzo. You're the bad guy in the story. What do you do? You're not the bad guy in their story. What do you do?
Okay, well, if I'm the bad guy in this story, then obviously I'm just gonna fess up. I think that's what people need to do. They just need to fess up. If you're the bad guy, if you made a mistake, you just say it, because it doesn't even, I think even if it's something really bad, like I'm sure, like you hear these news of all like these scandals on like all this stuff, or like, okay, what's happening right now? Like, let's take a look at that. If let's just say, Donovan Sharp, let's just say he came out and said, hey, yeah, you know what, I was being dishonest. You know what? Yeah, I made these mistakes. Yeah, you know what? I did this and did that. Then, maybe this would be a little bit of a different situation. Maybe it wouldn't be quite the same. And I've seen this happen time and time with different people, different situations. They just think that, like these frauds, they think that it's just going to blow over. And it does, that's the good news for them is that it does blow over, but it's still going to catch up with them time and time again. Something's going to happen. So, yeah, I think if you're the bad guy, if I was the bad guy, I would just freaking say, hey, this is what I did wrong. Here's why I did it. Even if that means saying, like, I'm just totally morally fucking bankrupt. I had this moment of, like, pure insanity. I did the wrong thing. I bent my morals to do something that was, to save face or, whatever. So, yeah, that's what I would do if I was the bad guy. And then if someone else is the bad guy, I think number one thing is to understand that, they can't help themselves. Don't hate them for it. Because these people are, I truly believe that these people are possessed. They're possessed. Possessed by anger, possessed by fear.
Yeah.
And, we see that all the time with, minor things, big things. They're suffering. These people are suffering when they like Tony sent us an article earlier today. It was on how, like, your brain physically is, like, suffering when you lie. Which is a
great article, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was fascinating. And I mean, it makes sense. It makes total sense, because lies just never work out. They never work out for the people telling the lies. So, rather than getting angry at those people, you understand it's like they're controlled by that. They're just stuck in it. They don't even see themselves doing it half the time. So and even if they're kind of aware, they don't really, the awareness isn't all the way realized. So I think the thing is, you have compassion for those people. It doesn't mean you have to be friends with them. It doesn't mean you have to invite them to your house for dinner or whatever. It doesn't mean you have to, do any favors for them. You know, I think forgiving people and doing all that type of thing can mean just shutting the door. You can't just shut the door and you just walk away. But the most important thing about forgiveness is just not hating them. It's just not hating them. I think that's the key thing. You know, there's a lot of people, you know, in my own experience who I've shut out. There have been people who've been dangerous. There have been people who have just been they've been in very, very dark places. And I recognize that they were dangerous to be around. They were not positive, and I needed to go away from that. And my mistake in the past was to hate them for that, to hate them for being angry, hate them for being, you know, I don't know, resentful, being frauds and all that stuff. But they can't help themselves, and that's why they're in that situation. So you just have some understanding. And I also understand that I'm no better than anybody. Really, truly, like I am just as susceptible to that anger. I could have just as easily done the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, true story.
Great, I love it, man. Man, let's go to you.
What do I do if I'm the bad guy? Just admit the mistakes, own up to it, take responsibility, correct my mistakes once I admit them, learn from it. Mm-hmm. When I'm not the bad guy, but I was labeled the bad guy, thank them for the promotions, thank them for the publicity, and just move on. I probably wouldn't, you know, someone asked me that kind of question recently, and I said, I wouldn't think about it because it wouldn't matter because I wouldn't be thinking about it. You wouldn't be on my mind at that point. That person wouldn't be on my mind anymore at that point. So I know it's not a sexy answer, but that's my answer.
That's a great answer. I like what you said, though. I really do. Yeah, great take. Marty, real quick, you're the bad guy.
If it's something that was clearly my fault, you have to apologize. But if it's something where it was just out of your limits, like you slighted someone, but you were busy doing 10 other things, you know, you just try to tell them from your perspective what happened. Yeah, but you have to own up to it, especially look at it from their point of view if they've been good to you. The person that you respect and like, yeah.
That's a great point, Marty. I love that. I really do. That's a great point. You know, good point. But yeah, go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted
No, you got me. I'm done.
Okay. Awesome. I love that. That was good, man. I think it does. I think the value that a person has to you does make a great difference in how you approach them. So I think their value to you is very important. So
I think Marty also brought up a good point. Sometimes describing it in a situation, like you said, you might be doing something. Maybe go into detail why you made the mistake. I think is what Marty was saying too. That's a good smoke.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've had a lot going on with me in the past couple of weeks. I'll say 2-3 weeks, and my mind has not been. I've just been hit from all angles. Let's put it that way. Not only that, I've had a lot. I do want to reach out to all the people that have sent me messages and have reached out to me since I've told people to reach out to me, Instagram or Twitter, T21Surfer, with any issues that they have. I'm not going to bring I will not bring your story public, just so you guys know that. Anybody that has reached out to me is in complete privacy. I don't bring up anything in public, but I do appreciate a lot of people reaching out to me on different subjects, personal subjects, and also just general concern, and I do appreciate that. But anybody who has reached out to me with their stories, and you know who you are, it's all in private. So again, anybody else wants to reach out to me, T21Surfer, private message me on Instagram or Twitter. That's T21Surfer. So I appreciate all of you. But let's go to Frank Pesci. So the two questions are, Frank, what do you do, real quick, on somebody thinks you're the bad guy and you are the bad guy?
Well, when somebody thinks I'm the bad guy, and in that case, I don't want them to think that I'm the bad guy, when we have to have dialogue. We have to figure out what it is. In my own life, I have found that people have fomented or formed opinions about me that over time I was like, and we discovered it. I was like, hold on a second. That's how you thought that went down? Let's fix this right now that it's a year later, right? So I would say if you're aware that somebody's got a beef with you and you're not in the wrong, then you should address it. You should be able to address it. You should be able to walk right up to them wherever they are and say, hey, I am here to address this very thing that we need to talk about. And when you put yourself out there and you're willing to stand in that person's presence, you show them that, first of all, you got nothing to hide. You also show them that you're not afraid, and you show them that you're willing to communicate with them in open dialogue. So when you're falsely accused, as it were, it's very important that you go ahead and you step up to the plate, no matter who it is, because things like that can foment and be a problem over time. For the people that think I'm the bad guy and I am the bad guy, well, it depends who they are. Do I want them to think I'm the bad guy? If I do, I'm very happy with the outcome of that. If I don't, then we'll go back to the former and we'll try to have some dialogue. But sometimes you got to be the bad guy somewhere. It is what it is. It could be a very powerful position that you find yourself in, should it be required.
Mm-hmm. Great. I love it. I'm going to bring on the bad guy for the night real quick. That's going to be Anthony Velasquez. So hang tight, Anthony. I've got your little trailer right here. Here we go.
Need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
There he is, the bad guy for the night.
Oh, hey.
There he is. Anthony, mute your mic. I don't know. Let me do it here. There it is. I got you. So welcome to the Wrench Club. I appreciate it, brother. I really, really do. I want you to know that you're valuable here. I have to tell you that. You have been a good friend of the show, a good friend of everybody on this panel. So real quick, tell me your thoughts on being the bad guy and how you handle when you are the bad guy and when you're not the bad guy, when somebody looks at you as the bad guy. So
when I'm thought of as the bad guy, I get blocked. Right? And when I want to be the bad, or when I am the bad guy, I'm the one blocking you. But seriously, just if I'm the bad guy and I don't want to be it, I apologize, or I just don't talk to you anymore. But I'm usually not the bad guy. I don't try to be the bad guy, so it doesn't happen too much. But usually it's just misunderstanding, and sometimes you can talk about it, sometimes you get blocked. That's the way life is, But now that's all changed now, right?
Yes, it has. You have the power right now. You have the power, and I do appreciate that, because to me, the power is in discernment, and I think when you timed out Drew, that was actually kind of funny. And I don't think that was malicious. I think that was kind of a joke. And I think Drew took it as a joke, and I appreciate Drew understanding that. I think that was really funny. I did. I was laughing here. So you're familiar with Drew. He's been on both times, but that was Drew took it in good stride. But I do appreciate you. But so I think we've all been through some we'll call them some trying times right now, and I think we've got what I would like to call the great awakening of the manosphere. I think that truth is very, very important. I think that truth in relationships, truth as men to men, truth whether it be your girlfriend, your wife, and I'm not talking like your version of the truth, but truth as in reality. And I think reality, a lot of people have a hard time dealing with reality. So I think that truth trumps reality, okay, in that fact, if that makes any sense, that the real truth trumps the reality. So I think this is Thursday night reality check. I really like the theme of our Thursday nights because, again, reality check is bringing the truth. It's bringing reality to our audience. It's bringing 6, 7 different men who don't all agree. And I'm okay with that. I'm 100% okay with that. But we're also, I think, delivering something that nobody else delivers. And I want to keep on doing that. I think that's important. I want to keep on getting viewpoints, no matter where they are. I respect everybody that comes on this panel immensely. I respect the fact that you're spending time here. You're putting your face out there. You're not hiding behind an avatar. Although we do have a couple avatar guys like JC. I haven't seen him in a while. JC is well respected. In fact, I appreciate JC. I haven't seen him in a while. But, there's a reason why people will use an avatar. And if I know them and who they are, that's okay. But any last words from anybody? Because we're going to wrap it up and we'll have a quick after party. So anything from anybody?
Not much.
All right. We
Respect you too, Tony.
Yeah. Much love, honor, and respect to everybody watching, to the panel. You guys are great, man. Love it. I love this interaction. I love the discourse. Because remember, when the talking stops, the shooting starts. So everybody have a great night. And we will see you Saturday evening on Saturday night. Live stream. Get it off your chest. You can join this panel live. You can talk to us. Get it off your chest. Talk about whatever you want. Just remember, Anthony V is the newest mod. So, yeah. I love it. I absolutely love it. So cheers, everybody. And we'll see you Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
See y'all.
Appreciate everybody. Cheers.
Thanks.